Hello, this presentation is about probabilistic model logic based on this paper of the same title by Shirazi and Amir. This paper explores the idea of probabilistic knowledge about probabilistic knowledge. This will be made apparent in the syntax and semantics of the logic that the paper presents and its example. The paper takes particular interest in discussing the exact and approximate reasoning algorithms for computing the truth values of model formula in the model logic that it presents, instead of discussing the properties such as soundness, completeness, and consistency that is typical when studying logics. So if you're looking for those properties of this somewhat novel logic, you won't find that here. The paper is compact and assumes background knowledge of probability and Bayesian networks and inference. Here's the outline of the presentation. We first start with a recap on syntax of model logic, and then we take a look at the syntax of the probabilistic model logic presented in the paper, following the semantics, and then the reasoning algorithms, and some key takeaways by the end. Recap, so everyone's familiar with this at this point. So you have typical box and diamond model operators. But as you can see in the syntax of probabilistic model logic, this is different. The grammar of a probabilistic model logic can be represented as this grammar. Either it's an atomic proposition, true, false, negation, conjunction, and this thing. Box formula alpha R. So the box here is the model operator, and alpha is either less than or equal, which it is a comparison operator, and R is the probability, so it's goes from 0 to 1. The model operator can be interpreted as the perspective of knowledge of information for an agent. And there can be multiple agents given a domain, so from 1 to n. We have an example here. Box 1, W less than 3/4 can be read as the probability of event W happening is less than 0.75 or 75% in the perspective of some agent 1. And given our grammar, nesting is also possible. Nesting is possible if you look at this example right here, box 2, box 1, W less than 3/4 equals 1/2. This is exactly the same expression from the first example. This can be read as the belief above happening exactly half the time in the perspective of some another agent too. So my my nesting can happen with the model operators, and as we can see, the gist of this paper is all about making computations on those nested model formula. Onto the semantics. This logic is multimodal, as evidenced by the index model operators, whose max number is based on the number of agents in a given domain. In the paper, only example is that of a two-player Texas Hold'em poker. Of course, yung dealer, yung tagabigay ng cards, they don't count. So it's just one player versus another. Texas Hold'em is a poker with imperfect information. Now we see why this is the paper's example. Because from the perspective of a player, you cannot know what another player's cards are until the very end of the game. This is crucial in how the paper presents its semantics as well. A player's information is their own, which implies that even if they enumerate all the possible combinations of cards in the board cards, their hand and opponent's hand, whether or not a combination is what's actually true, they cannot distinguish these combinations from one another. This indistinguishability indicates some equivalence relation at play. So remember from last time, ang ginamit natin for semantics ay Kripke models. This one is a variation of that. So the semantics of a probabilistic model logic can be represented by something called a probabilistic knowledge structure. It's a tuple, SRPV, where S is a non-empty set of states or worlds. R is the accessibility relation, and P is a probability function that represents a probability of being in a state, given that we know we are in one of these states accessible from S. So it takes in a state and then gives a number. And R, obviously, this is probability, so has to be bounded from 0 to 1. And finally, V is an interpretation function that associates with each state S a truth assignment to the atomic propositions, mathematical P. So from last time, we have a transition system modeling or representing a Kripke model. This time it's the same, except there's an extra information in here, which is the probability. This is something you associate on the nodes. And there's another thing, even if you have one structure, one knowledge structure, the number of accessibility relations and probability functions in that structure is determined by the number of model operators, one for each model operator that you use. So how would you fit, let's say, multiple accessibility relations in one structure? Well, one way to represent that is, I'll show it later. So this is the only example in the paper. This is the Hold'em example. The true state of the world is contained in both equivalence classes of player 1 and player 2, but they don't know that. So this true state is bundled with other states in their respective classes and distinguishable from the rest. So consider a point in the game where this is the board card, and this is player 1's card, A and K, and this is player 2's card, K and 3. However, from the perspective of player 1, she only knows the board card and her cards. And as for what player 2 can have, it's whatever she can think of, as long as it's valid, of course. You cannot have a duplicate card in here. And the same goes for player 2. For player 2's perspective, of course, he knows the board card here. He also knows his own cards, but he doesn't know the cards of player 1. So as you can see, this placeholder represents all the other possible combinations that player 2 can have as a belief of player 1's cards, and vice versa for each other. So this is what I meant earlier by how you can cram two equivalence relations in one Kripke model or one structure. You just have to give them a color which separates them, makes them distinct. So let S1 be the state. The states are represented as a triple in this game. So the first component would be the board card. The second component would be player 1's hand, and the second component is player 2's hand. So this is a triple of board cards, player 1 cards, player 2 cards, and in that order. And actually, player 2 wins here because if you look at the state of the board, you have 2 kings. Player 2 has 1 king, so that's a 3 of a kind. And he also has a 3, which forms a pair. In poker, that would be full house. So player 2 wins here with a full house of 3 kings and a pair of 3. And this is indicated by the singleton set W2 on S1. So this is you can think of this as the interpretation function on S1, having W2 as the second argument in which it's true. So the dash nodes and edges indicate that there are more nodes and edges not shown due to space limitations. So pwede mong imagine na sa kaliwa ng S1, marami pang interconnected na nodes in there. Sa kanan naman, marami pang interconnected nodes ulit. Lahat sila completely connected because they are in their respective equivalence relation, equivalence class. So in this structure, we color the edges to distinguish the two equivalence relations. The blue side contains states that vary only on the player 2 cards. This makes sense kasi ito yung perspective ni player 1. So she knows that the board card is this. She also knows her hand. And then yung um, question mark, it represents yung other possibilities of cards that player 2 can have sa perspective niya. And the same goes for the red side. The red side nodes contain states that vary only on player 1 cards. So the state, magsimula ka sa board card, and then player 1 cards you don't know. And then you have your own hand. So the way this works is, for example, if you're thinking like player 1, you take a look at the state S3, you can think of it as containing this, and I don't know, maybe 6 of hearts and 7 of hearts, something like that. Ganon din sa perspective ni player 2. Let's say yung S2 contains a state na ang laman would be yung board card, obviously. And then, I don't know, maybe 4 of hearts, 5 of hearts, ganyan. And then yung hand niya. So what's special about S1 is that it just happens to be the state where both player 1 supposes that player 2 has K and 3, and player 2 supposes that player 1 has A and K. So you can think of S1 as having the state ito plus yung hand ng player 2 completely. So I think makikita nyo naman yung analog from this structure to this, which is the actual state of the world, actual state of the game. Okay. So, what about yung winner 1? Meron tayong dito, winner 2 for sure na yan. This is computed from the rules of the game. So, there shall also be some nodes in which player 1 would win, containing this singleton set. This could be on the blue side. So, if W1 is on the blue side, that means player 1 has a belief that player 2 has a weaker hand. And since weaker hand yung player 2, player 1 might win in that case. And on the red side naman, if player 2 considers the belief that player 1 has a stronger hand, W1 might appear on the right side, or it could appear on both, because ang daming combinations ng cards eh. But I did some analysis here. This is actually impossible, as the only winning poker hand na available for player 1 is a 4 of a kind. Pero yung 4 of a kind na yun is kind of high. You need 4 kings. But player 2 already knows that 3 kings are in play. So yung kings, dalawang king na nasa board, and yung king na hawak niya. So it's impossible for player 1 to have 2 extra kings. Otherwise, lima na yung king in the deck, which is not possible. So that's one way to think about the example paper. And finally, there are 2 probability functions, one per player or accessibility relation. So hindi ko na nilagay dito because maging cluttered na yung graph. P1 is the uniform probability distribution over the states of the blue side. Si P2 naman sa red side. The probabilities are uniform because from the perspective of a player, any valid combination of what they believe to be the opponent hand, it would result to all of the states on one side being in the same equivalence relation to all have the same probability of being the actual game state. So kunwari sa perspective ni player 2, lahat ito ay all equally equivalent. It just so happened that S1 is the true state of the game. That's why it's special. Nasa gitna siya. Concretely, at this stage of the game, any player can see 7 cards. So nakikita ni player 1 yung 5 cards sa gitna and yung 2 cards na hawak niya. And the probability of a valid opponent hand combination, for example, you can consider S4, iniisip mo yung player hand ni player 2. So that would be 1 all over 45 choose 2. So this is a combination. So why 45? Well, kasi we have 52 cards to start with. 7 are already in play and you're trying to see ano yung mga combinations in one state. So that would be around 1 over 990. So each state here has a probability of being the true state as 1 out of 990 sa perspective ng player. Again, I reiterate na ito yung true state ng game. But tayo lang yung nakakita noon as omniscient observers of the game. But we're talking about belief here. So sa perspective ng player 1, this is around 1,000. Another combination, uniform 1 over almost 1,000. Same thing for player 2. Okay. So nandun na tayo sa part na kailangan nating evaluate yung modal formula. So the first exact reasoning algorithm we're going to see is top-down. And this is actually a naive algorithm. If you can see, if you can look at the steps, it's like going all over the syntax. So if Q is true, then it's true. If Q is this is the bottom symbol, it's false. If Q is a proposition, and then all you have to do is to check it against the interpretation function. If it's a negation, you do this recursive thing, you negate the result of another call of top-down. And the same goes for conjunction. And then yung mahirap na part is kapag meron ng modal formula na nangyayari. So just like with modal logic from last time, whenever you see a modal operator, you try to consult all the states available from S. But remember, every one is interconnected with S sa isang equivalence relation. So madami to. But then, you don't need to check everything. You just have to check yung mga evaluations of to-do na kung saan S prime is true. And then you keep adding the probabilities. And then eventually, meron ka makukuhang Boolean expression ng total probability. And then meron comparison from the original probability ng query. And then since this is a Boolean expression, it returns true or false. So the top-down reasoning algorithm is an algorithm that evaluates a query starting from the root. So ito yung root. And then recursively computes the truth value of the query of the subformula on the given state. And yung time complexity niya is given by the length of the query multiplied by n raised to m. And n is the max number of states. Dito yung nagmamanifest sa step 6b. And then, yung m naman, since naka-raise siya to m is the max number of nested modal operators. So, kung dalawa yung modal operators mo, this is n raised to 2. Pag tatlo na silang nested, 2 raised to 3. So, as you can see, this algorithm is naive and very inefficient. We can optimize top-down according to the paper. All you have to do is you can do some memoization. So you don't have to recalculate some probabilities. And then another one would be to short circuit the Boolean conjunction on line 5. So ang idea here is try mo hanapin kung alin yung mas maikling subformula sa X or Y. And then kung alin yung mas maikli, yun yung unahin mong i-solve. If it happens to be false, then there's no reason to try to solve the other one because it's a conjunction. You only need one false to deem the entire thing as false. But these are the best you can do for top-down. Meron pang isa. The other exact reasoning algorithm is bottom-up. Ito, ang approach niya naman ay linear, as you can see at step 2A for all. So, knowledge bottom-up or KBU computes the innermost modal formula first. Pero dapat yung modal formula na yon ay hindi rin another modal formula itself. So indicated by this specification. So yung form dapat would be box X alpha R. Oh, by the way, ang ginagamit pala na notation ng paper is KI. Pero nag-decide ako na gumamit na lang ng box para mas familiar. And kapag na-compute niya na to, i-associate niya yung results with all the states in the respective equivalence class. So ito yung nangyayari sa 2A and second bullet point. So yung computation of T, this is actually a Boolean. As you can see, may addition dito ng mga probabilities na kung saan S prime is true. And then it's compared against the original query na merong modal formula. So this is a Boolean, itong TM. And then you associate it to every state in E. And yung E ay yung equivalence class ng state. So ilagay mo sa lahat. And then eventually mapapalitan mo lahat ng mga innermost na modal formula with their actual values with TM. Modal formulas get replaced by truth values from the inside moving outside until the entire modal formula is either true or false. So yung time complexity nito is unsurprisingly linear. So length of the query times the number of states. And itong number of states, nanggagaling ito dito. Ito yung nagpapahaba nung running time ng algorithm. So because it's a summation of probabilities in which you are trying to see if S prime is true. And you can see that itong subroutine na to is recursive. Kasi what if it happens na hindi lang pala proposition yung laman ng S. Sorry, hindi lang pala proposition yung laman ng X. It could take on other forms. Well, let's say conjunction pa siya sa loob, di ba? Okay, so that's for the bottom up. And finally, ito yung pinakamahirap na part ng paper, the approximate reasoning algorithm. Ang tawag nila ay area. So this is the crux of the paper and it requires several prerequisites, constructing sampled expression trees, Bayesian networks, conditional probability tables or CPTs, and finally inference on Bayesian networks. So let's just take it all in. Okay. So ang core idea ng area algorithm has something to do with minimizing yung cost of computation whenever a modal formula is encountered. So if you notice in our previous algorithms, ang nagpapahaba talaga ng running time is whenever you encounter this. Same goes for this. Ito yung pinakamadaling intindihin because it's just recursive. It just follows yung syntax. So you can imagine that is very costly. Ang idea sa area is at a high level, from the original query, gagawa ka ng tinatawag na expression tree, where the modal subformula are assigned some sampled children expressions from the same equivalence class. So you split up mo yung original query and then mamimili ka lang ng sampled children expressions from the same equivalence class. So you're not trying to get every value from all of the nodes in an equivalence class. So napansin nga natin kanina dun sa example natin dun sa cards, 45 choose 2. But malaki yun. And then once we have this tree, which looks like para din siyang directed as cyclic graph, what we do is to invert yung edges ng sampled expression na yon. And kapag na-invert na siya, they are given something called conditional probability tables. So at this point, para na siyang Bayesian networks. So Bayesian networks are DAGs na merong CPTs yung mga nodes. So CPTs, you can think of them as yung input nila would be kung ano man yung input ng parents of a node, which then would influence yung probability ng node na yun. And then finally, kapag meron ka ng Bayesian network, gagawa ka ng inference dun sa Bayesian network na yun. Pero na consider na since nabaliktad na yung edges, The ones na nasa dulo kanina, yung mga leaf ng tree, na meron na silang laman na concrete values, sila yung mga leaves before nagkaroon ng inversion. Now they can influence the node values upwards via inference and kung ano man yung value ng CPTs until that computation effectively reaches yung original query, and then an approximation is obtained. So this is just the high-level overview ng algorithm. But I'm afraid hindi ko to kaya ma-explain in full, but let's just see. So ito yung definition ng sampled expression tree. It's something that you can construct from the original query. So given a query Q on state S, the sample expression 3TQS, it's constructed. So inductively defined ito. If Q is true, then the node value ng magkakaroon ka ng node ng value ay 1. If Q is false, magkakaroon ka ng node ng value ay 0. If Q is P, and P is some atomic proposition, and then all you need to do is that you create a node na kung saan yung value ay yung value ng P at the interpretation function. Yan yung mga atomic parts. Ito na meron ng combinators. If Q is negative X or negation X, sorry, not X. And then TQS is a node na meron siyang operator. Tapos merong isang child. And yung child na yun would be X itself. So whenever you encounter not X, this produces a node na ang laman ng node or ang label niya would be negation. And then meron siyang isang child node, which is this value na sa loob lang ng negation. Same thing with conjunction. If Q equals X and Y, then TQS is a node ng operator ay yung AND, and with two children, TXS and TYS. And now again, kapag nakakita na naman ng model formula, iba yung mangyayari this time. This time you don't create TQS, instead you create TQEIS, which is a node na ang operator ay yung Q mismo, which is this entire thing. And then meron siyang children. Just like itong dalawang to, meron silang children. But as you can see, it's kind of obvious na yung children ng Q ay isa lang kasi negation lang naman. Yung children ng conjunction ay dalawa. Pero dito, you have a choice to set an M number of children. So, you can set yung value ng M ng program sa simula. And then, gagawa ka ng multiple children na ang parent nila ay itong node na to. So, that would be TXS1, TXS2, so on, TXSM. And saan nanggagaling itong mga states na to? Itong states from S1 to SM are sampled from the equivalence class of S. So, dito na nanggagaling yung sampling idea ng area algorithm instead of sort of trying to consult every state in an equivalence class, which could be very expensive. It's a very massive set. Mamimili ka lang from among them. And as for whether it's completely random or not, mamaya natin makikita yun. So that's for a sampled expression 3. Meron tayong example dito. Example sampled expression 3. This is given from the book. In this example, M is set to 3. That's why may tatlong children sa ilalim ng mga model operators. But napansin nyo, itong model operator na to, model formula na to, dalawa lang yung anak niya. But it just so happened na yung setup ng example from the paper, S1 and S2 belong in the same equivalence class. So there's only S1 and S3 in here. Kita niyo yun yung indexing S1 and S3. Sila lang yung nasa intermediate nodes. And then the way the example is set up is that these nodes happen to have children na actual na yung values. So you can imagine may nadaanan na state or may nasample na state, and that state somehow, let's say wala siyang laman na probability, wala siyang laman na proposition, so it's zero and so on. Sorry, hindi niya laman yung y, so zero. And then may nasample na naman na state in that equivalence class for which y exists, so it's one. Another nawala, so zero and so on. So what do you do with this? So eventually, kapag natapos mo na tong step na to, babaliktarin mo yung edges. So this parent becomes a child, this parent becomes a child, itong child magiging parents na sila, so mapupunta na paangat yung arrows. And then kapag nabaliktad na yung edges, you assign a CPT for all of them. So the way the CPT is assigned is as follows. Balikan natin yung algorithm. Ayan, define yung sample expression tree based on the definition, and then create a new tree in which yung T nabaliktad yung edges na. And then you do some processing on this tree. So for each node ng operator ay conjunction, you create a CPT, conditional probability table. So what this means is that yung node na to, yung magiging value niya would be kung ano man yung value ng V1 and V2. So let's say V1 is 0 and V2 is 1. Since this is conjunction, yung value ng L would be 0. So that's how you read yung vertical bar. So the probability or the value of L, given that the parents of L have this. So remember na binaliktad na natin yung edges. So yung parents this time, sila yung leaves, sila yung may actual values. So the way you read this is value probability of node L given the value of its parents. So in this case, the way you compute yung V is using yung conjunction. That makes sense. Sa negation naman, isa lang yung parent niya. So manenegate lang yung value ng V prime. So let's say V prime is 0, then V becomes 1. V prime is 1, so manenegate, so V becomes 0. So ganun lang yung pagbasa ng conditional probability table. So ayun nga, para lang siyang conditional probability. You're looking for something, and then yung bar, given that, the parents of something, and then ito yung formula. And now, for the biggest part of the algorithm, which I admit I don't fully understand. So, you are given a node, tapos hinahanap mo yung value niya. You're considering its parents. That would be V1 to Vm. If you can surmise, ito yung mga sinample mo from the expression tree. And then yung pinapasok dito na value would be from the formula 1 na makikita natin dito. Itong napakahabang formula na to. But again, you can read this as the probability of this modal subformula given that. So this computes some conditional probability given the joint probabilities XS1, XSM, which used to be the leaves of the sample expression tree before in the inversion. The idea now is to use their actual values, which just range from 1 and 0, true or false, to compute the value of nodes upwards to 3. So the way you compute is gamit nga tong formula na to. So for conjunction, that's conjunction obviously. For negation, negation. And as for yung sampled na expressions, gagamitin mo tong formula to, which to be honest, I don't understand. Pero para siyang base rule. Ang difference lang nito is 0 to 1, ito naman 0 to R. And then kapag naggawa mo na tong sampled query na to, back to the algorithm, you just do some inference. So yung inference, hindi na in-explain ng paper. Bayesian inference. The paper didn't elaborate on how this works, as the authors simply used parang off-the-shelf MATLAB code for doing the inference. Further, they used two methods and compared their running times. So in this case, sinet nila yung M sa 10. So kanina yung examples natin, sinet lang to 3. So dinamihan nila yung sampling of these two. Itong Lu, ang pangalan ay J3. It's an exact inference algorithm. And it might explain why habang dumadami yung modal functions na nested, tumataas yung running time niya because apparently it's done exactly. Meanwhile, yung likelihood weighting naman is Monte Carlo based. Okay, key takeaways. Model logic syntax is highly flexible. So hindi ko to in-expect from this paper na di ba from last time we were only talking about boxes, diamonds, and then indexing nila. It turns out you can also do this. And the probabilistic model logic presented in this paper is just one of the many. May mention yung paper na ibang logics. For example, one logic has the following expression, box X, that can be interpreted as the probability of X being true is greater than the probability of its negation being true. But I would say na mas specialized or rather mas generalized yung probabilistic model logic in our paper kasi merong actual probability na kina-compare. The semantics proposed in the paper can model many games with imperfect information, hindi lang yung poker. Truth value computation of model queries can be made tractable, lalo na kapag sobrang dami na ng states, using sampling and then Bayesian interference. Pero for small enough knowledge structures, it would be wiser to just use exact algorithms. Would make more sense. Ito lang yung reference ko, which is just the same paper. And thank you for listening.